Welcome to Seraphina Secrets, where wisdom meets wonder, and the secrets of life's journey are unveiled. I'm your host, ChattyGinger, and in each episodes, we'll explore the stories of women at life's crossroads, guided by the timeless wisdom of Seraphina, our mystical guardian angel. Whether you're seeking strength, clarity, or just a moment of peace, you've come to the right place. Let Seraphina's light guide you to the answers you seek. Episode 1. Finding Your True Self. Prologue, The Silent Storm. Evelyn Ross sat at the edge of her bed, the soft hum of the ceiling fan the only sound in the room. The clock on the nightstand ticked softly, marking the passage of time that had once seemed infinite, but now felt all too fleeting. The night outside was dark and still, mirroring the quiet turmoil in Evelyn's heart. She had spent the last 30 years of her life in this house, raising her children, tending to her husband, and burying her own needs deep within herself. She had always believed that if she tried hard enough, if she gave enough, she could make her marriage work. But now, with her children grown and her husband retired, the facade she had maintained for so long was crumbling. Evelyn felt trapped, suffocated by the life she had built around herself. She had sacrificed so much, yet here she was, lonely, unfulfilled, and unsure of what the future held. The thought of spending the rest of her life in this emotional prison filled her with a deep, gnawing dread. And yet, she felt guilty for even considering the possibility of leaving. She had made vows, after all, and breaking them felt like a betrayal of everything she had stood for. But how could she continue to live like this? How could she reconcile her duty with her desire for happiness? As she sat there, lost in her thoughts, a strange feeling washed over her. It was as if the very air in the room had shifted, becoming heavier, more charged. Evelyn looked up, her eyes wide, and in the corner of the room, she saw a figure, a woman, bathed in a soft, ethereal light. The woman was beautiful, her features both delicate and strong, her presence both comforting and awe-inspiring. She seemed to radiate a divine energy, a wisdom that transcended time and space. Evelyn felt her heart quicken, not with fear, but with a sense of reverence. Who are you?" Evelyn whispered, her voice trembling. The woman smiled, a smile that seemed to hold 1,000 secrets. "I am Seraphina," she said, her voice melodic and soothing. "I am here to guide you, Evelyn." Evelyn felt a tear slip down her cheek. "Guide me? How?" Seraphina stepped forward, her movements graceful and fluid, almost as if she were gliding. "You have been lost in the storm for so long, my dear," she said softly. "But the storm does not last forever. There is a path, a way forward, that leads to peace, to joy. But you must be brave enough to take it." Evelyn's heart ached with the weight of her emotions. "I don't know if I can," she admitted. "I don't know if I have the strength." Seraphina reached out, her hand hovering just above Evelyn's. "You have always had the strength, Evelyn. You have simply forgotten how to use it. But I will help you remember. Together, we will find your way back to the light." And with that, Seraphina began to glow even brighter, her form becoming almost translucent, as if she were made of pure light. Evelyn felt a warmth spread through her, a warmth that chased away the coldness in her heart. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of hope. "Trust in yourself, Evelyn," Seraphina whispered, her voice like a soft breeze. "And trust in me. I will always be with you." And then, just as suddenly as she had appeared, Seraphina was gone, leaving Evelyn alone in the room, her heart pounding in her chest. But the feeling of warmth, of hope, remained. Evelyn knew that something had changed, that she was no longer alone in her struggle. As she lay down to sleep, Evelyn felt a sense of calm wash over her. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew that she was no longer afraid. She had Seraphina by her side, a guardian angel who would guide her through the darkness and help her find her way back to the light. Chapter 1. The Weight of the Past. Evelyn awoke the next morning with a sense of clarity she hadn't felt in years. The memory of Seraphina's visit was vivid in her mind, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental had shifted within her. For so long, she had felt trapped, weighed down by the expectations and responsibilities that had come with being a wife and mother. But now, for the first time in a long time, she felt as though she could breathe. As she went about her day, Evelyn found herself reflecting on the choices she had made. She had married Richard when she was young, full of hope and dreams for the future. They had been in love, or at least she had thought they were. But as the years passed, the reality of their marriage had begun to reveal itself. Richard was controlling, demanding, and often dismissive of her feelings. He had always been focused on his career, on making money, and Evelyn had been left to manage the household and raise their children on her own. She had convinced herself that this was just the way things were, that it was her duty to support her husband and take care of their family. But now, with the children grown and Richard retired, the cracks in their relationship had become impossible to ignore. He was more demanding than ever, expecting her to cater to his every need, while offering nothing in return. Evelyn felt like a ghost in her own life, invisible and unimportant. She had tried to talk to Richard, to express her feelings and her needs, but he had always brushed her off, telling her she was overreacting or being unreasonable. The few times he had listened, he had quickly forgotten, returning to his old ways, as if nothing had changed. Evelyn had learned to keep her feelings to herself, to bury her emotions deep down where they couldn't hurt her anymore. But now, with Seraphina's visit still fresh in her mind, Evelyn realized that she couldn't continue to live like this. She couldn't keep sacrificing her own happiness for the sake of a marriage that brought her nothing but pain. She needed to find a way to break free, to reclaim the life she had lost. As the days passed, Evelyn found herself thinking more and more about Seraphina and the words she had spoken. There is a path, a way forward, that leads to peace, to joy. But you must be brave enough to take it. Evelyn knew that the path Seraphina spoke of was not an easy one, but she also knew that it was the only way forward. She needed to find the courage to take that first step, to confront the fears and doubts that had kept her trapped for so long. One evening, as she sat alone in the living room, Evelyn made a decision. She would seek the guidance of a therapist, someone who could help her navigate the complex emotions she was feeling. She knew that she couldn't do this alone, that she needed support and guidance to find her way out of the darkness. The next day, Evelyn made an appointment with Dr. Morgan, a therapist who came highly recommended by a friend. As she sat in the waiting room, her heart raced with anxiety, but she knew that this was the right thing to do. She needed to confront her feelings, to understand where they were coming from and how to manage them. When Dr. Morgan called her into the office, Evelyn was struck by how warm and inviting the space was. The walls were lined with bookshelves, and the furniture was soft and comfortable. Dr. Morgan herself was a kind-looking woman in her early 40s, with a calm demeanor and a reassuring smile. "Evelyn, it's nice to meet you," Dr. Morgan said as she extended her hand. Evelyn shook her hand, feeling a little more at ease. "Thank you for seeing me." "Of course," Dr. Morgan said as she gestured for Evelyn to take a seat. "Why don't you start by telling me a little about what's been going on?" Evelyn took a deep breath and began to speak. She told Dr. Morgan about her marriage, about the years of emotional neglect, and the loneliness she felt every day. She spoke of her children, who had grown up and moved on, leaving her and Richard alone in a house that now felt too big and too empty. And she spoke of the guilt that gnawed at her every time she considered the possibility of leaving, of breaking the vows she had made so many years ago. Dr. Morgan listened intently, nodding thoughtfully as Evelyn spoke. When Evelyn had finished, Dr. Morgan leaned forward slightly, her expression gentle but serious. "Evelyn, it sounds like you've been carrying a heavy burden for a long time," she said. "But I want you to remember that marriage is a partnership, a commitment that both partners make to each other. It's not just your responsibility to make things work, it's a mutual effort. And from what you've told me, it sounds like Richard has not been holding up his end of the bargain." Evelyn felt a lump form in her throat. "But I made vows. I promised to stay with him, for better or for worse." "Yes, you made vows," Dr. Morgan agreed. "But those vows are a commitment to love, respect, and support each other. They are not a license for one person to dominate or control the other. Marriage is about mutual respect, and when that respect is lost, it's not your fault." Evelyn nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I just don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have the strength." Dr. Morgan reached out and placed a hand on Evelyn's. "You have more strength than you realize, Evelyn. You've already taken the first step by coming here, by acknowledging that you need help. That's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of courage." Evelyn took a deep breath, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. For so long, she had felt like she was carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, but now, with Dr. Morgan's guidance, she felt like she could finally start to unburden herself. "Thank you," Evelyn said softly. "Thank you for listening." Dr. Morgan smiled warmly. "I'm here to help, Evelyn. We'll work through this together, one step at a time." As Evelyn left Dr. Morgan's office that day, she felt a renewed sense of hope. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but she also knew that she was no longer alone. With Seraphina's guidance and Dr. Morgan's support, Evelyn felt like she could finally begin to reclaim her life, to find the peace and joy that had eluded her for so long. Chapter 2: The Gathering Storm. Evelyn's journey of self-discovery had only just begun, but the challenges she faced were already proving to be formidable. The more she delved into her emotions and explored her needs, the more she realized how deeply entrenched her unhappiness had become. The years of emotional neglect, of suppressing her own desires for the sake of her family, had taken a toll on her, and undoing the damage would require time, patience, and a great deal of courage. As she continued her therapy sessions with Dr. Morgan, Evelyn began to uncover the layers of guilt, fear, and sadness that had been buried deep within her. She realized that much of her guilt stemmed from societal expectations and the belief that she was somehow failing as a wife by considering the possibility of leaving her marriage. She had been taught from a young age that marriage was a sacred bond, one that should be upheld at all costs, even at the expense of her own happiness. But Dr. Morgan helped her see that this belief was not only outdated, but also harmful. Marriage, she explained, should be a partnership built on mutual love, respect, and support. When one partner refuses to honor that commitment, the marriage becomes unbalanced, and it is not the fault of the other partner for seeking to restore that balance, even if it means ending the marriage. Evelyn also began to understand that the fear she felt was not just fear of the unknown, but also fear of judgment. What would people think of her if she divorced Richard? How would her children react? Would they blame her for breaking up the family? These questions plagued her, keeping her up at night and causing her anxiety during the day. Dr. Morgan encouraged Evelyn to focus on what she wanted, rather than what others might think. "You cannot control how others will react," she told Evelyn during one of their sessions. "But you can control how you respond to your own needs and desires. This is your life, Evelyn. You deserve to live it in a way that brings you happiness and fulfillment." With this newfound perspective, Evelyn began to contemplate what her life could look like if she chose to leave Richard. She imagined a life where she was free to pursue her passions, where she could travel, make new friends, and build a future that was truly her own. The idea of it was both exhilarating and terrifying. For so long, she had been defined by her roles as a wife and mother, and the thought of stepping outside those roles felt like stepping into the unknown. One evening, as she sat alone in the living room, Evelyn felt the familiar warmth that signaled Seraphina's presence. She looked up, and there, standing by the window, was her guardian angel, bathed in the soft, ethereal light that always seemed to accompany her. "Seraphina," Evelyn whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "I don't know if I can do this. It feels so overwhelming." Seraphina smiled gently, her eyes filled with understanding. "I know it feels that way, Evelyn. But remember, you are not alone in this journey. I am here with you, guiding you, supporting you. And you have Dr. Morgan and your friends who care for you. You have a network of love and support around you." Evelyn nodded, feeling the tears well up in her eyes. "But what if I make the wrong choice? What if I leave and it doesn't make me happy?" Seraphina's expression softened, and she stepped closer to Evelyn, her presence calming and reassuring. "There are no guarantees in life, Evelyn. But the most important thing is that you are true to yourself. You have spent so many years sacrificing your own happiness for the sake of others. Now, it is time to focus on what you need, on what will bring you joy and fulfillment. Trust in yourself, and trust in the process. You are stronger than you realize." Evelyn wiped away her tears, feeling a renewed sense of determination. "Thank you, Seraphina. I don't know what I would do without you." Seraphina smiled, her form shimmering in the soft light. "You would do just fine, my dear. But I am glad to be here with you. Remember, I am always with you, even when you cannot see me." With that, Seraphina faded from view, leaving Evelyn with a sense of peace and clarity. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but she also knew that she had the strength and support she needed to navigate it. As the weeks passed, Evelyn continued to explore her options. She spoke with a lawyer to understand her rights and what a separation or divorce would entail. She also considered the possibility of a temporary separation, giving both herself and Richard space to reflect on their relationship and what they truly wanted. When she finally broached the subject with Richard, she was met with resistance. He was dismissive, as he always was, insisting that everything was fine and that she was overreacting. But Evelyn stood her ground, explaining that she needed time and space to figure out what she wanted. Richard reluctantly agreed, and Evelyn moved out of the house, renting a small apartment nearby. The first few days were difficult, the silence in her new home almost deafening. But as the days turned into weeks, Evelyn began to rediscover herself. She took up painting again, a hobby she had abandoned years ago, and joined a local art class. She started going for long walks in the park, enjoying the peace and solitude that came with being on her own. Slowly but surely, Evelyn began to feel the weight of her unhappiness lift. She still had moments of doubt, moments when the fear and guilt crept back in, but she knew that she was on the right path. Seraphina's visits, though infrequent, continued to provide her with comfort and guidance, reminding her that she was not alone. As the months passed, Evelyn and Richard met with a couples counselor, but it became clear that Richard was unwilling to change. He continued to dismiss Evelyn's feelings, insisting that she was the one with the problem. The more they talked, the more Evelyn realized that their marriage had been broken for a long time, and that no amount of counseling could fix it. With a heavy heart, Evelyn made the decision to file for divorce. It was not an easy choice, but she knew that it was the right one. She had spent too many years sacrificing her own happiness, and now it was time to reclaim her life. Chapter 3: A Light in the Darkness. The decision to divorce Richard had been a difficult one, but as the days turned into weeks, Evelyn found herself growing more and more at peace with it. She had taken the first step towards reclaiming her life, and though the road ahead was still uncertain, she felt a sense of freedom that she hadn't experienced in years. Evelyn continued to focus on her own well-being, dedicating time to the things that brought her joy and fulfillment. Her art became a source of solace, a way for her to express the emotions that had long been suppressed. The canvas became her sanctuary, a place where she could pour out her heart and soul without fear of judgment. She also reconnected with old friends, women she had lost touch with over the years, as she became consumed by the demands of her marriage and family. These friendships, once neglected, blossomed anew, providing Evelyn with a support system that she hadn't realized she needed. One afternoon, as she sat in her favorite cafe, sipping tea and sketching in her notebook, Evelyn felt the familiar warmth of Seraphina's presence. She looked up, and there, sitting across from her, was her guardian angel, her expression serene and full of wisdom. "Hello, Evelyn," Seraphina said, her voice as soothing as a gentle breeze. "Seraphina," Evelyn breathed, a smile spreading across her face. "I wasn't expecting to see you here." Seraphina smiled, her eyes twinkling with a mysterious light. "I am always with you, Evelyn. Even when you cannot see me, I am by your side." Evelyn nodded, feeling a sense of comfort in Seraphina's words. "I've been doing better," she said, "but there are still moments when I doubt myself, when I wonder if I'm making the right choices." Seraphina reached out and placed her hand on Evelyn's, the touch warm and reassuring. "It is natural to have doubts, Evelyn. Change is never easy, and the path you have chosen is a difficult one. But you must trust in yourself, in your own inner wisdom. You are on the right path, even if it feels uncertain at times." Evelyn nodded, taking a deep breath. "I just want to be happy," she said softly. "I want to feel alive again, to find joy in my life." "And you will," Seraphina assured her. "Happiness is not something that comes from external circumstances. It is something that comes from within. You are already on the path to finding it. Continue to nurture your soul, to follow your passions, and to surround yourself with love and positivity. The rest will fall into place." Evelyn smiled, feeling a sense of peace wash over her. "Thank you, Seraphina. I don't know what I would do without you." Seraphina's smile deepened, her eyes filled with a wisdom that seemed to transcend time. "You would do just fine, my dear. But I am glad to be here with you, guiding you on this journey. Remember, you are never alone." As Seraphina faded from view, Evelyn felt a renewed sense of determination. She knew that the road ahead would still be filled with challenges, but she also knew that she had the strength to face them. With Seraphina's guidance and the support of her friends, Evelyn felt ready to embrace the future, whatever it might hold. Chapter 4: Rebuilding a Life. The weeks and months that followed were a time of transformation for Evelyn. She continued to attend therapy sessions with Dr. Morgan, delving deeper into her emotions and uncovering the layers of hurt and pain that had accumulated over the years. It was a painful process, but it was also liberating, as Evelyn began to shed the burdens that had weighed her down for so long. She also threw herself into her art, using it as a way to process her emotions and express the things she couldn't put into words. Her paintings became more vibrant, more alive, reflecting the changes she was experiencing within herself. The more she painted, the more she felt herself coming back to life. Evelyn also began to explore new interests and hobbies. She joined a book club, started taking yoga classes, and even began volunteering at a local animal shelter. These activities not only filled her time, but also brought her joy and fulfillment. For the first time in years, she felt like she was living for herself, not for anyone else. As she rebuilt her life, Evelyn also began to rediscover her sense of self-worth. She had spent so many years feeling unimportant, invisible, and unloved. But now, she was beginning to see herself in a new light. She was strong, capable, and deserving of happiness. She no longer felt the need to seek validation from others or to define herself by her roles as a wife and mother. She was Evelyn Ross, a woman with her own dreams, desires, and passions. One day, as she was walking through the park, Evelyn ran into an old acquaintance, a woman named Margaret, whom she had known from the PTA when her children were in school. They hadn't seen each other in years, but they quickly fell into an easy conversation, catching up on each other's lives. As they talked, Evelyn mentioned her divorce, expecting to see a flicker of judgment in Margaret's eyes. But instead, Margaret reached out and squeezed her hand. "I'm proud of you, Evelyn," Margaret said sincerely. "It takes a lot of courage to do what you've done. I wish I had been brave enough to do the same." Evelyn was taken aback. "You? But you and your husband always seemed so happy." Margaret smiled sadly. "We put on a good show for the sake of the kids, but it wasn't real. I stayed because I was too afraid to leave, too afraid of what people would think. But you chose to put yourself first, and that's something to be admired." Evelyn felt a surge of emotion as she realized that she wasn't alone in her struggles. So many women, just like her, were trapped in unhappy marriages, afraid to take the steps necessary to find their own happiness. But Evelyn had broken free, and in doing so, she had inspired others to consider doing the same. As they continued to talk, Evelyn felt a sense of connection with Margaret that she hadn't felt in a long time. They exchanged phone numbers and made plans to meet for coffee later in the week. It was a small thing, but to Evelyn, it felt like a step towards rebuilding the social connections that had been lost over the years. As she walked home that evening, Evelyn felt a sense of contentment that had long eluded her. She was still in the process of rebuilding her life, still figuring out who she was and what she wanted. But for the first time in a long time, she felt hopeful about the future. Chapter 5: The Dawn of a New Day. As the years passed, Evelyn continued to grow and evolve. Her divorce from Richard had been finalized, and though it had been a painful and difficult process, she had emerged stronger and more resilient. She had built a new life for herself, one that was filled with love, joy, and fulfillment. Her art had become more than just a hobby, it had become her passion, and she had even begun to sell her paintings at local galleries. The vibrant colors and bold strokes of her work reflected the inner transformation she had undergone, and people were drawn to the energy and emotion that radiated from her canvases. Evelyn also continued to nurture the friendships she had rekindled, surrounding herself with women who uplifted and supported her. They became her tribe, a group of strong, independent women who understood the challenges she had faced and who celebrated her victories, both big and small. And though she had moved on from her marriage, Evelyn had not closed herself off to the possibility of love. She had begun dating again, cautiously at first, but with an open heart. She knew that she was not defined by her past, and that she deserved to find someone who loved and respected her for who she was. One evening, As she sat in her cozy apartment, sipping a glass of wine and reflecting on the journey she had taken, Evelyn felt the familiar warmth of Seraphina's presence. She looked up, and there, standing in the soft glow of the lamplight, was her guardian angel. "Seraphina," Evelyn said with a smile, her heart filled with gratitude. "I wasn't sure if I'd see you again." Seraphina's smile was gentle, her eyes filled with pride. "You have come so far, Evelyn. You have embraced your true self, and in doing so, you have found the happiness and fulfillment that you deserve. I am so proud of you." Tears welled up in Evelyn's eyes as she looked at the angelic figure before her. "I couldn't have done it without you, Seraphina. You were there for me when I felt so lost, when I didn't know if I could go on." Seraphina's expression softened, and she stepped closer to Evelyn, her presence radiating warmth and love. "You had the strength within you all along, my dear. I was merely a guide, a reminder of the wisdom and power that reside within you. You are the one who made the choices, who took the steps to reclaim your life." Evelyn nodded, feeling a deep sense of peace wash over her. "Thank you, Seraphina, for everything." Seraphina's smile deepened, her form shimmering with a soft, ethereal light. "You are never alone, Evelyn. I will always be with you, watching over you, guiding you. But now, it is time for you to continue your journey on your own. You have the strength, the wisdom, and the love within you to create the life you desire." As Seraphina began to fade from view, Evelyn felt a sense of calm and contentment settle over her. She knew that she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, and that she had the inner strength to overcome them. With a smile on her face and a heart full of hope, Evelyn raised her glass in a silent toast to the future. She had come so far, and she knew that the best was yet to come. Epilogue: The Light Within. Years later, Evelyn Ross stood in the gallery that now bore her name, surrounded by her paintings, each one a testament to the journey she had taken. The vibrant colors and bold strokes told the story of a woman who had faced her fears, who had reclaimed her life, and who had found the joy and fulfillment that had once seemed so elusive. As she looked around the room, Evelyn felt a deep sense of pride and contentment. She had created a life that was truly her own, one that was filled with love, friendship, and passion. She had become the woman she had always wanted to be, and she knew that she owed much of her transformation to the guidance of Seraphina, the guardian angel who had helped her find her way. But more than that, Evelyn knew that the strength and wisdom that had carried her through her darkest days had come from within herself. Seraphina had been a guide, a source of support, but it was Evelyn who had made the choices, who had taken the steps to create the life she now lived. As she stood there, surrounded by her art and the people who had supported her along the way, Evelyn felt a sense of peace and fulfillment that she had never known before. She had found the light within herself, and she knew that it would continue to guide her, no matter what the future held. And somewhere, in the soft glow of the gallery lights, Evelyn felt the presence of Seraphina, her guardian angel, watching over her with pride and love. Evelyn smiled, knowing that she was never truly alone, and that the journey of self-discovery, of finding the light within, was one that would continue for the rest of her life. Thank you for joining us on Seraphina Secrets. Remember, the path to inner strength and wisdom is always within your reach, and Seraphina is here to help you find it. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need a little guardian guidance in their life. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and let Seraphina's light guide your way. The end.